people see us as the renowned source of diamonds. But the perception here at home is very different. There isn't a reason why South Africa shouldn't become a hub for diamond trading. How do we create an enabling environment for black people then to enter the space and enter the space honestly? Black people are then perceived to be substandard by those that have earned their keep in the diamond business.
Spread the fire. Welcome back to SMWX, and today I am extremely excited to announce a new partnership that SMWX is doing with Nungu Diamonds. We're calling it Owning Your Wealth. It's going to be a series of monthly conversations about how the South African mineral economy is crucial to our nation's future. And Nungu Diamonds is a company which I'm extremely excited to be working with because they represent the very best of entrepreneurial fortitude, but also beneficiation and what that really means in South Africa's economy. And I'm joined in the first series today of Owning Your Wealth by none other than the founder and managing director of Nungu Diamonds, Kealeboga Pule, for a conversation around questions of wealth, questions of beneficiation, and also your entrepreneurial journey. Brother, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. This is definitely one of my favorite platforms.
Yeah.
I can't wait to unpack and begin talking beneficiation, wealth, how it is that all of that can help, transform the South Africa that we currently have into the one that we dream about.
This partnership is so incredible for me because it was purely organic. Like,
oh man,
you watched the show. Yeah. I'm an admirer of Nungu Diamonds. Yeah. We met at an event and we spoke, and you were like, we'd like to come on board. And I was like, wow, having a company like yours, which, represents beneficiation, it's black owned. Yeah. You're, one of the most important upcoming entrepreneurs in our country. And like, we get to do this thing and build both things at the same time. And you're contributing to this platform. It's perfect.
It's amazing, man. Like, I don't know how many times I've said to you that I'm a huge fan. I love what you've been able to do. I love how you've become this, amazing opinion platform. Sure. People come here and educate some of us, inspire some of us. And it is Nungu Diamonds' absolute pleasure to be a part of this amazing platform that's going to become one of the biggest platforms that we have in the world, more so in Africa,
for sure.
That shapes the opinion of people. And Nungu Diamonds would love to, play its part in making sure that you achieve your vision, and you're helping us the same. So looking forward to it, bro. Looking forward to it.
We're so glad to have you, man. Like, I'm looking at the suit and I'm like, whew, I need to up my game on the channel. Like, Diamonds is the place to be.
I will give all the credit to my wife.
Fair enough.
She makes sure that I don't look embarrassing. So I'll pass your compliments to her and say, Caesar thinks I look cool.
Indeed.
Thank you so much.
And you just have an unfair advantage in relationships because you know where to get diamond rings whenever you need them. So.
I've been told this too many times that the other day I got her listen to me saying I got her. She decided to choose a stone that was part of our stock and decided to start wearing it and design a ring for herself.
Yeah.
And every time people look at it, they're like, you must have the best life. I say to them, for sure I do. For sure I do. I'll take it.
You agree.
I'll take it.
Bro, we're also going to be speaking to your wife, Ursula, who's a key part of the Nungu Diamond story. Yeah. But I'm really interested in your story. I mean,
sure.
I mean it when I say, like, you're doing some of the most important stuff in South Africa. We always talk about beneficiation, but you are actually doing it.
In the business of, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And tell us a bit about your story and what led you to thinking and conceiving this enterprise.
So I usually go back to a movie I watched in 2008 called Blood Diamonds. And every time I mention that, many of the people in the diamond trade are shocked. Why would you be inspired by that? I was incredibly fortunate when I was in varsity. I was very curious. I started my first business. I think I was in my second year. It was in the promotions space. We did some work with a local shopping complex back in the Northwest in Mafikeng. Because in my mind, while studying law, I just had this feeling that I wanted to do more with my life. Nothing against those that are lawyers today, but that just was not part of what I wanted to do.
Some of us also just got our LLBs.
Hey, bro, congratulations many times over. So as soon as I finished my studies, I had met a guy who was in the diamond business, who had been so gracious to say he's willing to mentor me in the diamond space. And how I got to meet him is that I'm a very persistent individual. And I think that speaks to my, parts of what make me the entrepreneur that I am. I pursued him for many, many months. It was almost a year. I called him insistently, and at some point he just gave up and answered the phone. I said to him, I love what you're doing in the diamond business. He said to me, when you have time, come and meet me in Johannesburg. I pestered my older brother at the time and said to him, I need to meet this guy.
Yeah.
Please drive me to Joburg. He drove me here. I got to meet the guy. His name was McDonald Demani. He passed away unfortunately last year. And McDonald was probably one of the front runners in the diamond business. He was the first guy to get his diamond dealer's license at the time. One of the first guys to become a DBS side holder, which is a preferred supply category of clients that DBS has. And he had built something quite exciting. I remember being in his factory in 225 Main Street at the time where the Diamond Center was. And he had a picture of Michael Jackson on the wall. Him and his brother were there showing Michael Jackson these diamonds.
Wow.
I'm like, black guy, Michael Jackson, South African.
At that time.
Amazing stuff, man.
Yeah.
And, Michael Jackson being who he was for some of us, maybe not so much today, but for some of us who grew up watching that icon and him being in the same room with this guy and him showing diamonds, it was an inspiring moment for me. This gentleman, like I say, was incredibly gracious. He said to me, once you're done studying your law degree, come join me, spend some time with me, shadow me everywhere I go, and maybe you'll learn something. He said to me, I'll pay you nothing. Just come and learn. I was fortunate. The stars aligned for me. My older brother was moving to Johannesburg, so I had a roof over my head.
Yeah.
And I remember McDonald saying to me, I'm going to hire you a car. You're going to drive from the south of Johannesburg to Midrand every day. You're going to go to the gym with me. You're going to then go to meetings with me and take notes. You say nothing, you just take notes.
Wow.
I spent 18 months with this guy. And he opened my eyes to things I could have only ever imagined. I remember one of your guests talking about how he had a similar mentorship. I think he was referring to Bloomberg, saying I think it was Rob Herzog.
Yeah.
Actually.
It was Rupert Murdoch.
Yes, Rupert Murdoch. Yes. He made... When he made reference to that, I found similarities there to say, here's a guy who was introduced to some of the most powerful people in the world just by virtue of being in the room. The same happened for me. I got to meet guys from DBS, guys from the South African Diamonds and Precious Regulator, where we get our diamonds, diamond licenses. I got to meet people from the State Diamond Trader, where our rough diamond supply comes from. Now, taking you back to that 2008 moment, Blood Diamonds. Yeah. So you watch this movie and you see how diamonds are contextualized in relation to the African continent. It's Sierra Leone. It's wartime. Diamonds are being viewed as this thing that fuels wars and kills people in the African continent. And I wondered to myself, as I was going through my mentorship program, I call it that, with McDonald Demani, to say, so what story needs to be told that is different about diamonds in the African context?
Yeah.
And what role can I play in that? Because through my mentorship, I got to see that the face of the diamond industry, as how it was depicted in the movie, isn't what we really have on the ground. There's a Kimberley process that safeguards how diamonds are moved from country to country. Diamonds cannot just be exported from country 1 to country 2 without there being paperwork. Post the release of that movie, there was so much work that was put into ensuring that Africa is not perceived this way anymore. But unfortunately, that was still the perspective or the perception.
Yeah.
I was fortunate, again, like I say, to be mentored by somebody who changed that perception for me altogether. And then later on, 2013, started Nungu Diamonds with all of that education.
Can I ask you on that education?
Yes,
because I'm fascinated in a lot of what you're saying there. Like what you learned in that period that maybe surprised you or there was a story where you were like, okay, it's not just about hard work. Like there's this insight that you got from that mentorship process. Because I'm fascinated in your entrepreneurial journey and how you've actually got to where you are.
I remember my mentor used to say to me, people do business with people they like. And this is not something that he came up with. It's something that's been said many, many times. So one of the things that were just a mind-blowing, I guess, experience for me was to learn that it's all in how you fashion yourself as an entrepreneur. It's all in what you invest in yourself and how you relay and relate to people. Yeah. If you show up on time, if you're trustworthy. For example, the diamond business is all about handshakes. We hardly ever sign contracts in the diamond business.
Wow.
People believe that your word is your bond. And to be a person of integrity, this is something that I got to learn from my mentor. He was a person who believed that you have to see things through. And fortunately, I was raised by, my mom and dad. My dad was a school principal. My mom was a school teacher. Honest people. And, to be raised by people like that and have a foundation like that set in me as an individual. I've always had some leadership qualities. I remember in high school also, being in the SRC, I was head boy in my final year of school. So all of these building blocks and meeting a person who saw value in my understanding of some of these elements and said to me, put yourself together well enough so that you walk into a room, you speak to people, you should be heard and heard well enough. And those that see value in you will automatically be drawn to you as a person. And all of a sudden that becomes how you build your business relationships. So for me, it's always been about how you present yourself. You do a well enough job at that as any entrepreneur. I interact a lot with young entrepreneurs myself. The first thing I say is, if you're going to call me and sound like you mean it, I'm listening.
Sure. Yeah. One thing I've noticed just working with you in this short period of time, and I don't know if you got this from your mentor or this was something that's with you, but I've also noticed it with so many successful individuals, is you work at a pace, and things move and they move fast. It's like, we do this, we do this. No, we don't need that middle part.
No,
we can just do it now.
It upsets some people, that approach to say, why do tomorrow what you can do today? But I feel like there's no time to waste, especially if you feel like you've got something good going. Don't waste momentum. Never find yourself wasting momentum. I think for me, leading into starting my own business from that mentorship that I had with McDonald Nomaan, I didn't want for there to be a lag. The reason why I had to start my business as quick as I did, McDonald Nomaan's own business went into a bit of trouble in 2012. He lost one of his biggest contracts. And in my mind, when we started working together, my view was, I'm going to be working with this guy for a long, long time. I'm not going to be starting any business of my own, at least not 5 years into our relationship. But when the time came for him to say, I'm not doing so well in my own business, I had to say, pivot quickly and make use of the network that you had amassed over the time you had spent with Mac and create something. So to your point about not wasting time, this is how I'm put together, and I think it's an important, character trait to have as an entrepreneur, to say time is of the essence, and people that are like-minded respond well to that. To say he's not about to say it can wait for Monday. I work with my wife in the business as one example. And, there's some questions sometimes where people say, when does it stop? It never stops. Because we are fully aware of how grand our vision is and the amount of work that needs to be put into building this thing. We've been fortunate to travel the world and see how big businesses really operate. And we're in an industry where businesses have been handed over over multiple generations. So you're competing with people that have got proven pedigree. They've got resources beyond your own imagination. So there's no time to waste. If you want to be impactful, you better do something now. So there's no wasting time.
So tell us about founding Nungu and the vision behind Nungu Diamonds and really what this enterprise and project and dream of yours is?
Sure. So I think it's in the name first. When we conceptualize the name Nungu, it means porcupine in Swahili. Swahili and many other African languages we've come to learn. In Setswana, ke nuku. So very similar sounds. Nuku, Nungu. The reason behind the name, small. The animal is small, but it's resilient. I make this example all the time. I've seen this video of this porcupine going up against 17 lions that wanted to attack it. What it kept doing is just turning its quails, defending itself, and these 17 lions just ran off at some point. So to think about what we intended to achieve in a diamond industry where there were the lions, the elephants, the establishment, call it that. What did we have to become so that we are effective at what we do? We realized that we're not a second, third, fifth generation business, so we're small, but we ought to be resilient. And I think, the name and its meaning has carried through in the past 11 odd years, 12 odd years of being in business. So the name was first. And also coming into an industry where there weren't many black people doing what we do.
For sure.
There weren't many black people who were trying to operate at the level that we were chasing. I never want to say there were no black people in the diamond business. For sure there were.
Yeah.
But we had a very different vision. One way we said, we want for diamonds in relation to the African continent to be perceived very differently. That they can be sold by black boys in suits and that they can be seen as a legitimate business. I remember having a conversation with my parents about going into this mentorship journey with my mentor, and I said to them, he's in the diamond business. My dad was like, Lebu, but you studied law, man. What's this about? Is it even legal? So that understanding and to also have the opportunity to see how diamonds, and South African diamonds more specifically, are seen around the world. People see us as the renowned source of diamonds. But the perception here at home is very different. So we made it our mission and our agenda to say, we're going to educate about the value of diamonds. We're going to educate about the source and what responsible measures are taken to make sure that diamonds are sourced responsibly, are mined responsibly. And more importantly, diamonds ought to be seen as part of our African heritage. And until we change that perception, diamonds will always be seen as this thing that's a faraway concept in the African continent, but are seen as this, I remember being in New York, for example, Fifth Avenue, there are diamond jewelry stores everywhere. Or Bond Street in London, diamond jewelry stores everywhere. Most of those diamonds come from this continent. But what value do we derive from that? And one of the things that I learned through one of the business courses that I did was that an entrepreneur has to choose, you have to choose a struggle. You have to be an advocate of something. And for us, how we choose to represent diamonds is almost like a protest mission to say we're going to, we're hell-bent on ensuring that the perception changes, and how we sell diamonds is so unique in approach, in that clients show up in a lounge, we sit them comfortably. Those that want to have champagne can have champagne, and we show them diamonds first. And what we realized with a specific clientele is that it was for the first time people touched a diamond. Yes, some people have walked into a retail store and have seen a ring and have bought that ring, but have never quite had a conversation about the diamond. Once you choose a diamond at Nungu, we then design something for you bespoke around the diamond of your choice. In this way, it's a personal purchase, and also you get to know about the diamond itself, and you begin to relate very differently to the mineral resource. I love sometimes when some of our clients would be looking at the diamond and it falls. When it falls, they lose their minds and start apologizing. Oh my God. And I say to them, but wait, it was mined from underground.
That's where it came from.
Right? So how you relate to the thing should also, so it's in the simple things where you say they ought to become this familiar piece of carbon. That's what they are. And like I say, a majority of them come from our continent. So how we relate to them has to show.
So talk us through specifically the streams or the pillars of your business.
Yeah.
Because really, there's all this talk of beneficiation, and it's kind of like this buzzword. But the average person often doesn't even know what that means, right? So we know that we've got these diamonds that get shipped out of South Africa, and that's the last we see of them.
Sure.
And presumably beneficiation is something about, well, actually being part of the value chain all the way through of our mineral wealth and making sure that that's not happening in other places.
Sure.
So in which part of that chain is Nungu actually coming to the table in the beneficiation process? Because that's so important. Unless we in Africa are also beneficiating, then we're going to perpetually be a place where these minerals that are ours actually just end up leaving our shores
and benefiting other people elsewhere. So how we're fashioned is we are first the diamond business. So what that means is we're licensed to buy rough diamonds in South Africa by a body called the South African Diamonds and Precious Metals Regulator. They report to the DMRE now, I believe.
Right.
The function of any diamond license holder in South Africa is to buy the rough diamonds, add value, and export what would have been the added value item, which is the polished diamond. What our license specifically enables us to do is it prescribes that you buy whatever you buy, 80% of it you are to cut and polish in South Africa, 20% you are to export. We buy these diamonds from a company called the South African State Diamond Trader, and from mining companies such as DBS, Petra Diamonds, and the likes.
Sure.
That's where we're found at first, and that gives us an added advantage when it comes to the retail side of the business, in that we're closest to the source, even from a price point perspective.
Absolutely,
we have a very different conversation. So we're well integrated in the diamond value chain. I was fortunate to start a partnership with a company called Pluchenik, South Africa. It's a multinational diamond cutting and polishing factory. We have a factory facility at the Special Economic Zone close to the airport.
Wow. Okay.
We employ about 40 South Africans, and we have some Indian expats there as well. And our function is to buy rough diamonds, cut and polish them, and create value.
Yeah.
Now, there's talk about beneficiation, but the support that has to come from those that legislate for beneficiation has been lacking, and that's where the bone of contention usually is in the diamond business. To say, as African producers, or as African diamond producers, we want for there to be value added to these diamonds. But what are we doing to effectively see to it that some of these things happen?
Absolutely.
So I'll make you an example about a country like Belgium and a country like India. Belgium has for the longest time been seen as the diamond hub of the world. Why was that? It was because many of the diamond companies were headquartered in Belgium. And financially, these companies were either founded by, maybe they were fourth, fifth generation businesses. So they've been in business for a long time and have a decent balance sheet to participate in the diamond business, which is a very capital intensive industry. And what then happens is, because they're so well funded as businesses, they're able to travel around the world buying rough diamonds and bringing them to their diamond hub of the world, adding value there, and then selling them off to the world.
And presumably there are no diamonds in Belgium, right?
No, none.
Right.
I mean, they will say to you that at some point in history they did find 5. Insult to Belgium.
But I'm
very friendly with them. But but in South Africa and the continent of Africa, we're responsible for 65% of the world diamond production. Russia is responsible for 30%, and then the balance is shared between Canada, Australia, and some of the smaller producers.
So this hub in Belgium is basically there because of historical incumbency.
Absolutely.
And there's no real reason why. Maybe it's a long-term play, but we in Africa shouldn't aim to also be that hub.
And learn from the examples. Because I often say, I'm not in the business of taking on people for having prioritized their own people and the agenda of setting up industries in those countries. You take India as an example, which employs in excess of 2 million people in the diamond cutting and polishing value chain.
Wow.
India used to mine diamonds, but they don't mine diamonds anymore. But their government and their banks have taken a position to say, if you're in the diamond business, you're creating local employment, we're going to support you sufficiently so that you're able to go to Africa and buy diamonds for millions and millions of dollars and export them to India and create local employment.
Wow.
Now the question and the challenge becomes to us as the African producers. South Africa used to employ in excess of maybe 6,000 people in cutting and polishing. But considering who we are, in the context of the diamond industry, diamonds were found here in 1867. They've been around for a long, long time. We should be far ahead in creating value in there being local expertise in diamond cutting and polishing. There just isn't enough government support. There just isn't enough support from the banks to say make capital available. Also make the type of capital that is diamond industry oriented available to diamond industry players. What do I mean by that? The diamond industry is capital intensive. Therefore, the capital that's made available ought not to be expensive.
Sure.
Because we're talking volumes.
Yeah.
I'll make an example about the rough diamond supply that we get under Plutonic South Africa from DBS. We get a minimum supply of $13 million worth of diamonds a year.
Wow.
And these are gem quality diamonds that can be cut and polished in South Africa. Now, if you contextualize, I think $13 million is maybe 250 million rand. I speak under correction. That is a significant bit of money just to sink into buying rough diamonds.
For sure.
But it speaks to how it is that a company like Plutonic is so well integrated in the value chain that number one, they have the capital to buy. Number two, they have multiple locations around the world where they can sell these diamonds. And if we are to build similar companies that are South African owned, we have to take a position and say, we're going to support those that are making an effort in the diamond industry who are fashioning their offering and their business in a way that can be attractive to people around the world to say, okay, I'll buy from Nungu Diamonds because Nungu Diamonds has walked its miles in the diamond trade.
Yeah.
Therefore, make capital available so that we can create employment. There's no reason why that millions of carats should be leaving the country and creating value elsewhere. And I think I would be unfair also to the diamond trade if I don't contextualize what we mean by, diamonds leaving the shores of South Africa and going elsewhere.
Right.
Maybe what we mine in South Africa, about 50% of it, or 50% of the production is gem quality, which means these diamonds can be cut and polished and create the jobs that we talk about.
I see.
The balance is industrial diamonds.
Okay.
So these are not for cutting and polishing. They're not to be worn. They're for industrial use. Therefore, when you hear a figure and people say 5 million carats were mined in South Africa and maybe a good percentage of that then left the shores of South Africa, it's not to mean that all of those diamonds could have been cut and polished in South Africa.
Right. Okay.
It only means that we're just talking the carat volume and not necessarily the quality of what was then mined locally. But even with that, there isn't a reason why South Africa shouldn't become a hub for diamond trading. We have a special economic zone at the airport, which comes with multiple tax incentives, which means that you can bring in rough diamonds from Botswana, Lesotho, Namibia, Angola. They come here to either be cut and polished or sorted to then be sold to other people that can then cut and polish them as well. So it's a question of taking a position and really agitating for government to say, if you mean it, let's do it.
That just confuses me because I've heard government speaking about beneficiation for
a long time,
decades, right? For me, this seems to be like a central government policy, and I would have assumed that all the support that was needed was there. And to hear that, I'm sure things are being done. Like you say, special economic zone has been instituted, but surely this should be a coordinated strategy to position South Africa for beneficiation. You can't just say the word and then not put the effort behind it. And it's like, other countries don't have these minerals, right? And we're sitting on these minerals. We have a developmental and unemployment and inequality crisis. Like, let's make this
Let's
work
do
for us, and
something
let's
about it.
own
Absolutely.
our own wealth.
Absolutely. And this is the challenge. I remember even during my mentorship days with Nomaan, we used to try to engage, and he more than me at the time I was learning, to engage with government to say, if we're talking about beneficiation, how do we give effect to it?
Yeah.
Because we have a piece of legislation that speaks about it. But to what extent are we then saying, as banks, as government funding agencies, we're all coming together to say, let's create something worthwhile out of this piece of legislation. And I think that's the fault of government. And it's not unique to the diamond industry. We've seen amazing pieces of legislation being promulgated, but it's all in implementation. And in my view, we're missing out on a major opportunity. You look at a country like Botswana, which is making strides in, creating local employment, and they're still miles off from localizing the industry, which is a different aspect altogether. But they're making an effort to say, diamonds are a strategic mineral. And perhaps in the South African context, diamonds compared to coal, the significance isn't the same. We don't mine as much as what we used to before. But it's a missed opportunity nonetheless. And it falls squarely on government and on business. We're not quite finding each other. And one of the things that I find quite irritating is how there's still a trust deficit, I suppose, between business and government, where conversations have been had before where people are saying, but it's still a white dominated industry. What help could these people possibly need? Without looking at it to say, regardless of who dominates it, how do we create an enabling environment for black people then to enter the space, and enter the space honestly?
Sure.
We're not here talking about some quick fashioned BEE deal where a guy has made a partner in a business they know nothing about. And that's what has, in my view, also delayed the development in the diamond trade, where black people were made partners in some businesses. When those businesses choose to shut down, what ends up happening is the black partner is called to come pick up their chair and desk, and that's all they have. And fault again on how BEE would have been implemented in that space. For me, I first had to learn how to cut and polish a diamond. And this is, you have to sit in a factory and wear your dust coat, and sit behind the bench. I'm not gifted at being technical, so it took a while for me to even polish my first half a carat. But I had to learn.
You actually know how to do that.
I actually know how to polish a diamond, and to go through that process as an entrepreneur who then later on wants to sell the thing, you get to learn what the process is. And in this way, the development of entrepreneurs in the diamond industry and any other industry actually has to be such that people have to pay a heavy cost of learning, right?
I love what you're saying there, bro, because as black entrepreneurs, right? Yes, the state and history owes us something, to be quite honest, right? Because of how our forefathers were systematically excluded from the economy. But our responsibility is to be the best. And that's something that maybe we need to have an honest conversation about too. Right? Absolutely. And here, we have to look better than everything that's out there. We have to interview better. Absolutely. We have to edit better. We have to be the best. And then you earn the opportunity.
I love that so much.
Right? And, I love that and maybe, I think the generation that's coming up appreciates that. But previously it was more of a handout thing. Like history owes us something. We'll just get the wealth, but we won't be the best, right?
And bro, the other thing that does, and this I've seen also in my industry, is that black people are then perceived to be substandard by those that have earned their keep in the diamond business, as an example.
Because make no mistake, they're good at what they do.
They're good at what they do, and they've made money and lost money maybe 10 times before they got to where they are. And here's a guy who shows up being bought a suit and a BMW and being told you're a partner now. there's no respect that comes with it.
Absolutely.
And this is me not saying that's not those were not efforts at trying to achieve transformation.
Sure.
But we've seen that they fall short. So if yes, I'll take government all the time. I'll take them on all the time to say, if you're going to talk about beneficiation, implement it.
Yeah.
But the question is, are they implementing it on fertile ground? If you don't find soldiers ready to fight the war,
Absolutely.
you can take 10,000 men to war up against 100 men who are soldiers at being soldiers. If your men are carpenters and teachers, no offense to them, they're not going to be able to fight the war. They'll lose it. So the point here being, entrepreneurship is a function of making mistakes, learning hard lessons, and once you've proven yourself to be efficient at it, it's now the turn of those that create a support structure, including government, to say, we've seen you, and this is how we're going to now support what it is that you've built to become even bigger.
Yeah. I like that story of you like actually going in and learning how to polish the diamonds.
I was not the best at it. I'm not even gonna claim. I'm still very close friends with some of the guys that taught me the process.
Yeah.
I was very fortunate, and I think my story is an interesting one. I'm a product of the involvement of many people. I remember the guys that taught me how to polish diamonds. The factory is Jewish owned. And I had met the guy through, again, the engagements I had with my mentor at the time. And I gave him a call and said to him, hey man, I'm about to start my own business. I need to learn how to polish diamonds. And he said to me, Lebo, ever since we met, I think there's something to you. So come and learn. He opened up his factory to me to come and learn.
Wow.
I've done business with people from different walks of life, and many of them have been very kind to me. And I think it's, again, what we spoke to earlier on. It's how you fashion yourself. It's how you show up.
Sure.
And people tend to support people that show up well. And again, in my development as an entrepreneur, and this is not unique to the diamond business, it's similar everywhere. For as long as you apply yourself, things will find you along the way.
Yeah, for sure.
And yeah, man, that's how this story has become.
You said something really interesting when you're talking about when people drop the diamond or something like that.
Amazing.
I was actually in your offices and I was looking at a ring and I dropped it and I had the same. And then Ursula was like,
all the time.
That happens all the time, and it's okay. We'll just pick it up.
Let's all be calm.
It's not broken. Yeah.
It can never be broken.
But there's something deep about that where we in South Africa, like when you're talking about how the world looks at South Africa as like the place where the best diamonds come from, and our diamonds are being sold in these high end places, and we never see that. It reminds me of when I went to Oxford, and you would go into a room and there'd just be this gold ceiling, and you're like, first you're like, wow, I mean, I've never seen so much wealth, and then you're like, wait a second. I think I know where that comes from. So that's where it ended up,
Absolutely.
And like, we don't feel like we own our own wealth and our own diamonds. It's like, this is not ours. Like it needs to be protected and kept safe and given to someone else who really owns it. Which
is a sad tale of, how maybe the colonizer got to deal with the African mind. And I this is not I'm not going at anybody.
Sure.
I'm just saying these are the results of, what happens when people are oppressed.
Yeah.
When people are being told, you can't touch that. You can't do that. Now, the beauty about our generation, we say again, we were not born into that environment. It ought to show. We were not told not to touch. We were not told not to participate in spaces. And we can credit the government for having created some of the laws, such as, creating the state diamond trader, whose function and duty is to sell diamonds to people that look like me, not exclusively to people that look like me, but prioritizing what they call historically disadvantaged South Africans. It's a step into the door. And it's all in how we as the entrepreneurs ourselves take on the task. I think, having seen again how diamonds are sold, we traveled too much, Hong Kong, Dubai, London, the lot of them. When you go there and you're black, the first assumption is he must be from South Africa. And if a person is wearing a diamond, they might tell you a story about how they were told that theirs come from Kimberley.
Wow.
And then you go to Kimberley when you're in South Africa. You say, this place doesn't look like it mined diamonds.
Sure.
Apart from the hole, the Kimberley hole that's there. Now, it's being intentional about saying, when we say we want to own our wealth, let's give effect to it. And let there be a coordinated effort to support the realization of that vision.
Yeah.
It's not good enough for there to only be one guy who says, I'm going to do it, and then they're breaking the doors and hitting their heads against the wall all by themselves.
Yeah.
At least in their example, people have to say, how can we create more like them? How can there be more Kealeboga Pules out there? Again, not only in the diamond business. This is how we transform our economy. This is how you begin to employ the 60% unemployment rate among young people. That's how you begin to solve that problem, to say there are these multiple spaces that are available to us. But how do you then begin to engineer, ease of access? Absolutely. Because it's one thing to say, I can give you a website now and say, this is how you visit this website, get a form, apply for your diamond beneficiation license. But once you have it, and then what?
Absolutely.
There has to be a place where you can then go and say, okay, I have my diamond beneficiation license, I'm looking to learn. And people like Kealeboga Pule need to then be available to you to say, this is how I got to learn, and you're going to learn the same.
Yeah.
First, you polish the diamond.
Yeah.
First, understand its value. First, you have to pay a price. I usually say this all the time. And this is, again, not unique, right? Nothing with having comes easy. This has been said multiple times. And as soon as we begin to adopt this approach, but at the same time having places for people to go and learn and get support, you see it with Dubai as an example. Dubai, man, they will support an entrepreneur in whatever space.
Yeah.
They buy diamonds and gold like nobody's business, because they've taken a position yet again. And if we then said, okay, if we're going to work with the likes of Dubai or whoever it is in the world, they are buying from us polished diamonds. And if that's the position, then we create local businesses that are able to supply into that demand.
Sure.
Before you know it, 30 years later, we have a thriving industry. But it starts with being intentional.
Absolutely. Now, what's interesting about Nungu as well for me is you also on the retail side. So you do also now sell your own jewelry, which has become very sought after, and various celebrities have done the if you have a Nungu diamond ring, like you've made it in life.
They've made us so cool.
Yeah. In terms of educating consumers about, buying a diamond ring for a partner.
Sure.
There's this idea that, okay, when I have $1 million in the bank, then I'll think about that. And you really opened my mind to the idea that actually, no matter who you are, firstly, it's yours, because it came from your own land. Backyard. Exactly.
Yep.
But you don't have to wait until you're like a billionaire to consider thinking about if you have an anniversary or something special, a parent, a grandparent. It might be more accessible to you than you think.
Absolutely. One of the things that we were quite intentional about is fashioning our business as a personal jeweler. Now, a personal jeweler is a guy you call and say, hey man, I have 20,000 Rand. And this is what I'm looking for.
Sure.
And again, our strategic positioning in the value chain, we're closest to the source. This is what I was saying to you the other day. There's a diamond for every Rand. You don't have to become a billionaire first. Of course, when you're a billionaire, call me.
Sure.
I'll come to your house and I'll bring whatever you wish, right? But
no problem.
There's a question of it's a question of starting somewhere and understanding that. Again, I think it's the perception around the inaccessibility of diamonds. That they're not as close to you as what you thought. I mean, for the many people we've sold to, who've come to our showroom and said, oh, I didn't know that 100,000 rand can buy me this. I didn't know that 20,000 rand can buy me this. It's that education. And what we want to be is a whole lot more accessible to people so that we can educate at mass, but remain a private jeweler where, like I say, there's a personal relation. And how we're building our diamond jewelry business is not, again, necessarily unique to how the biggest diamond businesses of the world have been built. There are many other examples of businesses that start first as a family jeweler and then become a family jeweler to 1 million families. It's that's how you do it. And the process of buying a diamond is a personal one. First of all, the reason why you're buying it, right? There's this person who you feel a certain way about. I often tell people this, that the reason why I didn't go into practicing law is because the clients we deal with leave me feeling much happier than what I assume I would have been made to feel elsewhere.
I think every lawyer would like to just be able to give their clients a diamond ring and
there you go.
Then you're done.
It's a much easier way of taking on life this way.
It was a wise choice.
Thank you so much. It's paid off so far. I think the way we've put ourselves together is so that people don't feel like I can't ask him if 20,000 rand can buy me something. And we've had such incredible favor from South Africans, more specifically Black South Africans, but we exclude nobody, who have, first of all, seen themselves in us, my wife and I, and said, you know, the guy would have been a black boy from some village at some point, which is my story. The guy would have maybe built himself a business that has made him quite wealthy in the moment. But when they look at what we do, they see that we mirror them, either as a couple or myself as an individual, my wife the same. And I think it's in that, you know, the personal brand that we are. We've also been very blessed to have, like how you say, you know, some celebrities look to buy what we sell, and they've made us quite popular, and we're eternally thankful for their support. And we wish and look to build a brand that will take on the world, but that will be anchored in Africa. It's our heritage, and this will be the story of Nungu Diamonds eternally. That diamonds are part of your heritage. You ought to see them the same, and they shouldn't be seen as this thing that's unattainable, even from a price point perspective. To answer your question, there's a diamond for every rand. Just call Lebo and he'll show you.
No doubt. And to those who are listening who have important things coming up,
please.
You know, I wouldn't even have known, like, you just assume that there's the obvious jeweler that's usually in a place that you've seen, and then you're like, oh, I have to go to that place.
Sure.
But also as consumers, our responsibility, if we want to build up this next generation of people who are beneficiating successful, excellent black business, like, you have to go to Nungu for your ring.
There's
like
nowhere else to go.
Yeah, like where else are you going and why? I just want to know. Like
absolutely. And this is what will then grow us into, you know, the mammoth entity we envision ourselves being, and taking on the world of diamonds. It's a complex world. It has a lot of involvement of multiple countries with different types of, you know, intentions, some good, some bad. We have the Kimberley process has got multiple nations, including the US and all the diamond producing countries. Russia used to be a member until the conflict in Ukraine.
Right.
There's been some sanctions that have been proposed by the G7 countries against Russian diamonds, which means the diamond industry is a contested environment. And now the issue of lab-grown diamonds also coming into the space and undermining the value of diamonds. I was reading one article just yesterday where one guy was saying, Africa needs to embrace lab-grown diamonds. I've never been so upset at 10 o'clock in the evening, thinking to myself, we mine these diamonds here. We're not about to replace them with something that is, yes, a wonderful, I guess, you know, scientific finding that you can make lab-grown diamonds and they look very similar to natural diamonds. But we ought to be thinking about diamonds from our own perspective as a continent and saying, take a position again. So like I say, very contested environment. And we're fortunate to be part of the diamond industry. In this way, when we sell the diamond jewelry, what we communicate to you is the essence of what you're buying. It's not just about how the thing sits on your finger. You're making a statement by wearing it. It represents who you are.
What do you think the value of a diamond actually is? Because we were having this interesting conversation with the person who films. Like, where do you think the value comes from, and why have diamonds come to be seen as like the quintessence of what is valuable?
I think, first of all, we have to credit DBS for an incredible marketing campaign, I think in the 1960s, I believe it was. A diamond is a girl's best friend. That's where it started. A diamond is forever.
Yeah.
They found a way to commercialize this offering. And the beauty about diamonds is they do last forever. The hardest substance we have in the world. Now, that's where the allure came from. To say, during those days, a man was told you have to spend 3 times your salary on an engagement ring. And it was standard. And this was your eternal gift of love to your intended. And this is how you gifted people. And the marketing campaigns that they then embarked on ever since, celebrities, the Marilyn Monroes of this world were known to wear diamonds. And that's where diamonds and bling became a thing in the hip hop culture.
Yeah.
If you don't have ice, you mean nothing.
I never made the connection of thinking about hip hop ice and South Africa, and realizing that a lot of that ice probably comes from here.
Absolutely. And America being a very interesting market, if you come up with an interesting enough marketing campaign, you're able to capture the imagination.
Yeah.
And this is again where the value of diamonds can be missed, I suppose, where it's seen as this nothing purchase. Because you have money, you're just going to dump your money in diamonds. There's no real meaning behind the purchase apart from you showing that you're rich, basically, which is what we're trying to work against as Nungu Diamonds, or to modify in a sense, to say they're part of your heritage. You buy them for that.
Yeah.
In our context, and I keep saying in our context, because I can't be saying what we own as a luxury brand in the same way as a brand based in the US would say.
Sure. Because
for them, anything that blinks that blinks will be, part of what it is they're selling. For us, it goes deeper than that. In terms of how it retains value.
Yeah.
Diamonds have been known to appreciate in value over time. But it all depends on where you buy your diamond.
Okay.
If you walk into a retail store.
Now you're putting us on game.
I'm just, helping a guy. If you walk into a retail store and you buy a diamond jewelry piece.
Yeah.
And you don't ask critical questions such as, what is the color? What is the clarity?
Absolutely. Okay, this conversation, especially for guys.
Absolutely.
And we're speaking to Ursula as well, and we'll ask from her perspective as well. But I remember buying the ring for my wife, right?
Yeah.
And bro, I was at sea because I'm like,
what am I
wait,
doing?
Hold on. Size, I don't know what to ask for. You don't know what the price point is. Is it worth it? Is it not? Are they just throwing a number at you and seeing if you'll bite?
If you'll bite, yeah.
So that process, please take us through.
Absolutely.
You go in and now you're buying the ring. What do you ask and what do you look for?
So the 4 C's that people have always talked about, the color, the clarity, the cut, and where the carat is more the weight of the diamond.
Okay.
These determine the value of what you're buying. But let's say the price of what you're buying. So if you come into a shop and you say, I want the biggest, you're saying nothing.
Okay.
The biggest what? It's size for sure, but what does the color look like? And when we say color, we'll get into the specifics, but we have white, we have near white, and then we have some that have a yellow tinge. My wife calls it a warm tone. So these would be the colors that are lower. So the colors are from D to Z. I've always been asked why not A, B. I found it like this.
Hey.
So from D to Z, that's how it is.
Okay.
If you go to Z, like I said, the colors get a bit warmer. They look yellowish.
I see. Okay.
The clarity speaks to the extent to which you're able to see the imperfections of a diamond using a 10 by 10 loop.
Okay.
So it's a microscope. Well, You could call it that. And the cut speaks to the shape of the diamond. Is it round? Is it princess cut? Is it oval? Whatever the shapes are, the round cut diamond sells the most because it's the easiest one to trade.
I see.
And the cut grade speaks to how well the diamond is polished. So buying from a private jeweler, you'll be set down and you'll be taken through a process of understanding all of those elements.
Sure.
All of those elements will determine your price. You'll be told the higher the color, the higher the clarity, the more expensive the diamond will be, for sure. But if you come to me and you say you have X amount of money, and you're looking for a 1 carat,
sure.
Assume you have 50,000 rand. You're looking for a 1 carat. You can buy a 1 carat for that. It won't be the best color. It won't be the best clarity, but it will be the weight you're looking for. So it's a question of using all of those elements to determine the price. But you won't know that walking into a store and just seeing a ring set. And then a person saying to you, oh, this one is 100,000 rand. But why? There's no conversation. So, and again, going back to how diamonds have always been sold or were sold traditionally, it was always by a guy who put them in front of you and took you through the process. And you chose on the basis of what it is you can afford using that combination of color clarity. The commercialization as we currently have it, I speak against diamonds being bought in a way that, a guy just walks out of a store and doesn't know what the lady is wearing. You should be able to articulate what your lady is wearing. In this way, you understand what it is you paid for. So that tomorrow, if you come back and you say, look, I bought this one of this particular color, clarity, and weight at such and such a time in my life. I'm looking to use the same as a deposit for something bigger. You know what you're talking about. Owning your wealth.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Hashtag. Let's do it. Let's do it. I love that. And also, I think maybe guys don't realize in the relationship context that, yes, the ring you bought when you were at that stage is important, and it'll always have an emotional value. But there's nothing wrong with upgrading after that, right? And it's not an insult to you if your partner's like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if?
Absolutely.
That's a way of deepening the relationship. If that's how you want to express it. If you want to express it in some other way that's not in this material way, great. I'm not saying you have to.
Absolutely.
But don't sleep on the fact that I've actually now made it in life. I can go back and I can upgrade, or I can get a different ring.
Absolutely.
I hadn't realized that, because I had a conversation with my wife. Like a long time ago, and it was like, okay, so that doesn't mean you don't like the first one.
No,
it's just another way of getting a gift. And like, you're always thinking anniversary, birthday, what can I get? Hello,
bro.
Hello,
right? There's a guy. There's a clientele that we have of, say, guys and women between the ages of 45 and 60.
Yeah.
They come in and say, 20, 30 years ago when we got married, all we could afford was this little thing I'm wearing. I've been able to, build in life. I've bought the cars, I've traveled, I have the watch. My kids are much older now. Now I'm looking to mark this milestone year, maybe the celebrating their 30th anniversary or whatever it is. And they say, I want for her to wear a diamond. And those are some of the clients that we enjoy working with the most, because to your point about it's no insult. It's a moment. It's the time in your life. And this is how you choose to show. And look, man, ladies love diamonds. I mean, there's no talking against that. I have friends who've said to me, but if I just buy my wife a lab-grown diamond, could she ever tell? And I say to them, if you want to die, that's on you. Because ladies, they love the idea of being bought. I've seen it with my wife. I've seen it with many of the clients that we have. And it's such an amazing thing to be able to be part of such a big moment in people's lives. For many of the clients that we sell to who are buying at that stage of their lives. We become friends. They invite us to their houses because we're very personal as a brand like this.
Sure.
And we get to experience their lives
Yeah.
and see that hard work does in fact pay, and this purchase that they're making marks a significant moment in their lives. It's amazing. It's amazing.
I
advocate for it. You get into your marriage 5 years in, you feel like she could wear something bigger. It doesn't always have to be a ring.
Sure.
It can be earrings. It can be whatever it is, a thing of value. And again, I think that you buy from a place of understanding. I think that also it represents part of who you are. And this is for me the most, Nungu Diamonds will never speak about, it's luxury. Fantastic. Of course it is.
Sure.
But we're more about the substance of it. What's the meaning of the purchase beyond just it looking amazing on your finger?
What about men as well? Because like the wearing of rings is becoming increasingly popular, but you see the take a lot black ring.
I've seen too many of those.
Like, and like the guy's a successful guy who has, however, it's often gendered, and it's the view is that, diamonds are worn by women. Diamond rings are a thing that are worn by women.
Sure.
And if a man wants to treat himself, to something in that way, it wouldn't pop to mind, sure. Right? But actually, there are really elegant ways that you can wear rings as a man too, and that's also a great gift, by the way, for a man.
Absolutely.
So what are your thoughts around that? Because I see you're quite subtle with it, although I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, with this lighting, yeah, no,
this is probably my favorite formal accessory. So it's my
the porcupine?
Yeah, it's the porcupine. And it's a beautiful lapel pin.
Sure.
I insist on men wearing accessorize your suit, right? Look like you mean it.
Sure.
This is just one way a man can wear diamonds.
Yeah.
I wear what is almost a plain platinum band. So if it's not going to be diamonds, then it's a mineral that comes from the continent again, from South Africa again. So
sure.
It's a platinum band. It has a few diamonds on it. It's just a question of
just a few,
just a few. No, it's okay. Just a few. So the whole idea is how do you? It's all in your personality, right? I know guys that we've sold to before,
sure.
who said, "I don't want to see the metal. I want to see only diamonds. So diamonds all around. That's him." And guys who love wearing diamonds like that. And there are guys who are a lot more understated, similar to me, who
sure.
say, okay, so my wife said, I'm just going to put 4 small diamonds representing the number of people in our family. We have 2 kids. It's myself and her. And that's it. And it's engraved inside. It has our surname in it.
Yeah.
So again, there's a personalization element to it.
Sure.
There are ladies that walk in and say, my husband is going to wear diamonds, whether the guy likes it or not. And we oblige as we should. So guys can accessorize. I mean, the bracelets. The beauty about also being a personal jeweler that creates individual designs for clients is that you can come in and say, this is what I've been dreaming about. I'll make you an example of one guy who came in and said he doesn't necessarily want to wear a ring,
sure,
but he wants to wear something that signifies the union between himself and his wife. He had this concept of a cuff, a platinum cuff that had his family totem engraved on the cuff. So it was, I think he was buffaloes.
Right.
So we had multiple buffaloes, but the buffalo head on the cuff. Now the beauty about that is he's wearing a unique piece that he was part of the design process of, that signifies to him what is important. Again, the union between himself and his wife. So it's not limited to a guy coming in and saying, I'm looking to wear a ring.
Yeah.
It's all about personalization. It's all about what speaks the most to you.
Bro, on this series, we're going to talk about so much to do with beneficiation, the history of diamonds in South Africa. We're going to educate people more about if they're wanting to buy and just the industry.
Amazing.
But before we close off, in terms of Nungu Diamonds, you've established yourself as an important brand in South Africa. You're a long way towards the vision, but I know that there's more that you're hoping to achieve in the future. What's your next big goal as Nungu Diamonds?
Man, there's a lot that we're planning to do in just this year alone. We're going to be doing a lot of personal events, being part of a lot of private events where we're going to be doing a lot more of this educating.
Very cool.
But targeting specifically our ideal clientele. In this way, we did toy with the idea of opening a retail store, but we felt like it's not going to quite serve the purpose. What we want to do is be closest to our end user as possible and be seen to be most available like that. In this way, you're not hoping that somebody's going to walk into your store. So, the idea of building a retail store sounded amazing at some point, but we've since went completely against it.
Interesting.
We want to remain a personal brand.
Sure.
And to do that, you have to be as close to your end user as possible. What we want to do also is become a thought leader in the diamond trade. Now we're talking about the diamond industry. We feel like the diamond business doesn't have enough people that speak on their behalf, on its behalf, particularly coming from the African continent. You have many, many thought leaders who are not African, who are fond of diamonds and of the diamond industry and speak well of it. But we ourselves haven't quite become that. And that's part of what Nungu Diamonds wants to be, so that there's an authority that comes from the continent that speaks with authority about these diamonds that we sell, these diamonds that we cut and polish. And to champion that mission, platforms such as these are important in us conveying our message. What we're also going to be doing is, my wife loves traveling, so we'll be doing a whole lot of that, where we'll be speaking on multiple platforms, again, championing the vision of, Africa, telling its own story about this incredible mineral that was found here many, many years ago. And helping some of the voices that are already there. I know DBS is trying to do its best to make sure that the diamond industry's perception continues to be what it is. It's for commercial purposes. For us, it's from the heart. And Nungu Diamond's story is only but starting. And you will be seeing us everywhere you go. That's for sure.
Well, bro, all the best on that journey. Shout out to you for, being a really important entrepreneur within this space in our country, and for being one of those people who signifies what it means to own our wealth.
Thank you so much.
And shout out to you for this partnership on SMWX, which is a meeting of the best of industry and media upcoming together.
Let's do it.
And doing it in a different, innovative way.
Sounds amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, my bro. Thank you so much for watching SMWX, for watching the hashtag. We decided we're creating a hashtag as well.
That's the one.
Hashtag the Own Your Wealth series. Be sure to check out Nungu Diamonds if you're buying something for a special occasion or for yourself, for someone you love. Make sure that you think of them first, and let's continue to build an ecosystem on this channel where we can own our wealth. Many of you have spoken about how we're often talking about the problem on this podcast, and we've done some thinking about, bringing those who are offering the solutions, and also creating a community within this channel where we together are, in our small way, creating that solution economically through the reach of this platform too. So let's make sure that we keep this community and family growing. And part of that is supporting Nungu Diamonds now too. So see you on the next one. See you on the next Own Your Wealth episode next month as well. And keep it locked on SMWX. Aye.